to go back to the college football playoff conversation because we got into a little bit of it, and Jordan got a comment. So let's go back over here to you. I want to lay this out once again. I mean, it seems like, all right, look, we know Georgia's number one, right? If Michigan can hold, they're probably number two, although we'll keep an eye on the Big Ten just in case. And then that 3 spot's interesting because Ohio State didn't play. Do you slot them up above TCU, who lost, even if they didn't play? TCU and Alabama kind of vying for that 4th spot. I mean,
I personally don't think that Ohio State jumps them and moves to 3.
Yeah.
I think TCU stays at 3 even with the loss because they went to they went to a conference championship game. They went to overtime in it against a top 10 team, and they have a better resume than Ohio State. And so for Ohio State to get really mashed the second half and then jump them, because both of them are coming off losses, right?
Yes.
And so I just think Ohio State, the way they finished, is worse than the way TCU finished with a better resume. So I think that TCU will probably stay at 3 and Ohio State will move to 4.
All right, let me do my best version of Tim Tebow right here. Are we putting in the best 4 teams or the most deserving 4 teams? And right now, is that pretty good for Tim?
That's good.
That's it, right?
That's Tim's biggest thing every week.
It is.
The most deserving teams are going to be, that according to the committee, is going to be Georgia, Michigan if they hold on, and TCU and Ohio State, because that's where they've ranked. That's what they're going to say are the most deserving.
But are they the 4 best?
They're not the 4
Tim
best.
Roman.
Because the RPI, the RPI has Alabama ranked.
Tell
That's
people,
the Roman Power
there
Index.
you go.
At this point, you should just know it.
Right.
Hashtagging it, RPI.
So
Alabama,
you think Alabama
is better.
should be in?
Yeah, and according to Vegas as well, and if you ask any Georgia fan, they are the boogeyman. They do not want to see Alabama as well.
Okay.
And Alabama doesn't want to see Georgia.
Jordan, they would be favored, Alabama would, over every team that we think would be
Except
in
for
the playoffs
Michigan and
other
Georgia.
than Georgia.
Michigan, too, probably.
No, they're still favored of Michigan, who, by the way, is down 10-7 right now. Go ahead.
I want to reiterate the fact that within the criteria, it is spelled out that they will have to decide when it comes to TCU, Ohio State, and Alabama. For TCU, because of how it looked today, are they unequivocally one of the best 4 teams in the country? How you come about that, you can go a million different ways. And I hate the fact that it ends up kind of punishing a team, how we're viewing them because they played in the conference championship. And Alabama and Ohio State sat back and didn't have to. That's why I love the playoff expansion. But again, you're going to have to come down and look at this and go, are they better?
Okay, are they?
No.
TCU unequivocally.
And I hate that because I'm saying that because of what happened today, which is not fair, because they played in the championship and the others didn't.
What do you think, Tim? TCU unequivocally better than Alabama?
I don't think that's the only comparison. I think you have to also say TCU, are they unequivocally better than Ohio State?
When you think about everything you've been through and this program's been through over the past few years, how much you love this school, what would it mean to get to bring TCU to the playoff?
Yeah, just, a lot of pride. I think for our fan base, for our team, if we were able to do that, there's nothing more that I wanted, to bring this school championship. Today we fell short. I didn't make enough plays to help us offensively to kind of put us in that spot. But, there's nothing more than I want is to, get to school championship.
Do you feel like you guys should be in the playoff?
I don't even know right now. I think if we got in, we would give, one heck of a fight. And I think, our competitiveness would take over and things of that sort. But I'm just, I don't know. I wanted that one really bad. There's a lot of emotion in the locker room. Sorry. But I think Coach Dykes talked about, we still have, wherever we go, we still have, a game to play. So it's gonna hurt, let it fuel you, but we gotta get back to work.
The games are done. What are you expecting from the committee?
Well, I think number 1, Georgia, and number 2, Michigan should be secure in their spots. I'm going to predict that TCU stays at number 3 in spite of its loss to K-State in the Big 12 championship. And I think that Ohio State is going to slide into that number 4 spot because of USC's loss to Utah in the Pac-12 championship. But as a reporter, I cannot in good faith call TCU a lock because the selection committee literally has not started talking about this yet. They're watching these games all day together, one floor above me here at the Gaylord Texan Resort. And as soon as the Big Ten Championship ended, they get up and they move into their room they deem Selection Central, and they start to talk about this. And I can promise you that while TCU could probably feel pretty good, they are at least going to talk about Alabama tonight.
Very interesting. So you mentioned those discussions. What do you expect their biggest debate will be tonight?
I think it will be between TCU and Alabama. And look, if TCU was going to lose tonight, they couldn't have done it in a better way. In overtime, by a field goal, to a top 10 team that they beat during the regular season. The reality is, as we sit here right now, TCU can say they do have a win over the Big 12 champs. And when the selection committee compares TCU against Alabama, they're going to put those resumes under the microscope. And TCU's win against K-State during the regular season is better than Alabama's win at Texas, which is a top 20 CFP top 20 win. And Alabama also has a win against another CFP top 25 team in Mississippi State and unranked Ole Miss. The common opponent against Texas is going to be huge. Remember, Alabama went on the road, beat Texas by 1 point, but for most of the game against the backup quarterback Hudson Card because Quinn Ewers was injured. TCU went on the road, beat Texas against their starting quarterback, played arguably their best defensive game of the entire season. Edge TCU. But at the end of the day, I can tell you this. If the selection committee decides to put Alabama in instead of TCU, this would arguably be the most controversial decision they've made since the last time they left TCU out in 2014.
It's going to look at USC's loss, the fact you were at 5, the assumption that you guys move into this playoff. When you have a season, this is unprecedented. You know, we've never since 2014 had a team lose in the fashion in which you did and then potentially get into the playoff. You stand in front of that team, you got to prop them back up and get them to get excited and get them to believe that that was an outlier, an aberration. What's your message to them? What do you talk to them about to get them to have a chip on their shoulder? And if you get in, you show up with kind of an attitude and kind of that underdog mentality.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously something that we talked about last week. We went through the film, and it wasn't something you just got over in a day or two. You know, it took a chunk out of us, but quickly we went back to work. We practiced on Wednesday. We practiced on Thursday, and we're looking forward and felt like if it was just out of our control right now, and that if we're given an opportunity, that we could be really dangerous in this game. And so, you know, I shared with the team, you know, that last year Georgia lost in the SEC championship game to Alabama. I think it was 41-24, and then came back and won the whole thing. So, you know, there's been things that have happened in the past where teams have been able to rally. And so, you know, we spent our time focusing on the things that we didn't do well, but by the end of the week, we were looking forward, and now we're really looking forward.
Barrett, I would say USC is the biggest loser on championship weekend, but you say it's someone else. Who?
I think it's Alabama. I think because you have this sense of hope. Alabama fans have this false sense of hope that they deserve to be in because they took 2 losses at the last second, one of them in overtime. And look, if we're talking about good losses as the metric for you having your case to get in, you're going to be and you should be disappointed. So, yeah, USC certainly a loser as well, but at this point, they've had a full 24 hours to sort of digest what happened. Alabama fans are going to feel that pain on Selection Sunday, and a lot of people in Tuscaloosa really do think that they have a chance. Nick Saban obviously has been lobbying during the evening game. So the big loser, I think, is Alabama because they have a false sense of hope, and I think it's going to come crashing down mostly at the hands of your Buckeyes.
When we last saw the Crimson Tide, they were walking off the field with a win in the Iron Bowl and closing out a 2-loss regular season. But are the Tide among the 4 best in the country? Nick Saban says yes, and of course he joins us now. You make the argument, sir. Why do your Tide belong in the playoff?
Well, I think the whole goal is to get the best teams in the playoff. And if there's any teams that are getting in the playoff that we had to play, would we be the underdog? Or would we be the favorite? And if we would be the favorite, that means we're the better team. Our team finished the season really strong. I think we lost 2 games in the middle of the season when we weren't 100%. Our quarterback wasn't 100% healthy on the road against top 10 teams. And I think some of the teams show vulnerability when they have big losses at the end of the season. And our team finished strong. So, hopefully we'll do everything we can to get the best teams in the playoff.